The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Hello and welcome to this week's Art Beat on KLZK 105.7 FM. This is your host, Peter Martins. We're coming to you from the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University in Lubbock. And I am excited to be able to talk today for a little bit here, Professor Bill Gelber. Hi, Bill.
Hello. Glad to be here.
From the School of Theater and Dance, where you've been for a while.
Yes, this is my 24th and last year.
Okay, all right. So you open the door to talk about the blessed event of retirement, right?
Yes,
so congratulations on
Thank
achieving
you.
that point of articulation in your life, I guess.
Yeah, it's 31 years of teaching, actually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Wow. So that kind of leads pretty naturally into one of our topics today, anyway,
Yes.
which are the things that you've done as an acting and directing teacher and pedagogue, and having your hand in directing a number of shows,
Right.
Many shows, I imagine, over the years,
yes.
At various places.
Pretty regularly, yes.
Right, and I imagine that's a component of at least one of the components of the job that you might miss.
Oh, it's a big one. I love directing, and at the higher education level, I see it as further education, right? That we're still learning as we work on whatever text we're doing or whatever project. So, but, I directed outside. Once I started directing, I was like, I have to do this as much as I can. So I almost see this as a fringe benefit of the job,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a good point, because what this even a fairly robust season like we have at Texas Tech is 4 main stage productions, maybe? Or
That's right, yes.
if you want to do it kind of all the time, you have to seek out other
Well,
opportunities.
when I was at Amarillo College, people don't believe me when I tell them, but in the 3 years I was there, I directed 12 shows.
Oh my, okay, so 4 per year by yourself.
Well, I started to learn my lesson. It was 5 the first year, 4 the second year, 3 the third year. Other people started to take those positions. But
Interesting. So I guess we might say swan song, at least as a director at Texas Tech, is coming up here
Yes.
starting at the end of October, and it's a play that some people might have heard of. I don't know, Hamlet. Maybe?
Hamlet is, I hear it's still in the atmosphere. People are still doing it all the time.
Right.
And it is my favorite play.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
I played the part when I was 22 years ago, and probably was a little young for it. But it's been a favorite of mine for a long time.
Interesting. I mean, it is one of those works that you like put it in the category of, I don't know, the Mona Lisa or Beethoven's Ninth. Like,
Yes.
maybe not everybody has seen it, but everyone has heard of it.
That's right. And that seems to be, the name recognition seems to be very helpful. And, it's doing Shakespeare is compared to having a symphony where all the instruments really need to, or the actors really need to be on their game, because they all contribute to this, as you say, masterwork.
Yeah, interesting. Now, I'm wondering, in your years at Texas Tech or before, is this the first time you've actually gotten to direct this particular play?
A major production, I would say. I did it once in the Rio Grande Valley as a small production at McAllen Memorial High School.
Wow.
And we took advantage of what we had there. So, for example, the music was mariachi. They sang El Rey, the King, for Claudius. And I was also working with a group of hearing impaired students, and they did the play within the play in sign language.
Oh, lovely.
And
okay.
it was told to everybody else. So it was the opposite. It was somebody telling us the words.
Instead of having a signer to interpret for the...
Right. It was the opposite.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
then the audience was so into it that they all did the sign of applause, for them just when they finished their part.
Nice.
So all of that was really fun and worth it.
Okay. But at the collegiate level, this is your first go. So
Right.
it's the first, I guess, in that respect. But again, like works that have been done many times over many years, how do you approach it? How do you approach it with this college group?
No, that's a great question. First of all, whoever's playing Hamlet is Hamlet. In other words, you really base your interpretation on who they are.
So you build the production around their personality?
Yes, in a way, and what they bring to it.
Okay.
And that's why it can be done again and again and again. So, for example, in London one year, they have this kind of system where you play Laertes first, then you go on to Hamlet, then you play Claudius when you're older, and then you play Polonius when you're really old. And there were 8 actors that it was their time. So they had 8 productions of Hamlet that season in London.
Wow.
And they were all, of course, very different. So,
Okay.
You can interpret the environment, of course, in various ways. And then you talk a lot to the person who is playing it about fitting into that environment. But of course, again, it's about how their life experience is applied to that role. Because it's one of those that it's a suit that fits anyone who wears it.
Okay.
Funnily
It
enough.
can fit anyone that wears it.
It can
Okay.
fit anyone that wears
Interesting.
it.
Interesting.
And we have a wonderful Hamlet.
Okay, and so you're saying we have a wonderful Hamlet. This does not sound like the sort of thing that you can double cast very easily, at least in that role.
Right. I mean, I think there are a lot of talented actors that probably should try it eventually, and I think this young man, Jackson Chapman, should probably do it again, right?
Okay.
As he learns and learns. But he's quite good. He's quite good.
Okay, great. So before I forget to ask about the details, I think it opens on Thursday, October 30th. Is
That's
that correct? Okay. And it runs...
So it'll run that weekend. We'll have a matinee, actually, the first weekend. So it'll be the 30th, the 31st, Halloween. Come bring your costume.
All right.
And then the 1st and the 2nd. So then the following week, it'll run from Thursday to Sunday, but we won't have a Saturday performance because of the football game, which will be here.
Okay.
So we move that performance to the first week matinee.
Ah, gotcha.
And that's probably important to mention because, we expect to have Saturdays every time, right?
Sure,
We just won't, when that happens.
Yeah, and it's maybe a kindness to the potential audience to not try to bring them to campus on a home football game day,
well,
right?
all the parking lots have been bought by the Alumni Association for the
Yes.
game. It's important, so.
Yeah. So you can't do everything all at once, right?
That's right.
On campus. So broadening out maybe a moment here from our production, obviously Shakespeare is still a big deal in the theater world, but I think there's a somewhat more recent notion that, well, we shouldn't maybe just do Shakespeare, or maybe we shouldn't even do Shakespeare every season. How have you seen that change over the course of your time at Texas Tech as far as trying to bring more diverse voices, for lack of a better term, onto the stage?
I think that we, in particularly lately, have tried to do that much more, because obviously Shakespeare would fit into the original canon, if you will, of the dead right European male.
Right.
But, as part of their training, it's very helpful that at least once every 3 or 4 years that we do something like it, so they have a chance to actually perform it.
What do you see in those works that are particularly useful to students as they grow as
great question.
actors?
I think the attention to how to speak it is important, but more importantly, perhaps, to be the interpreters and translators for the audience so that it's all clear. So that even if you have an obscure passage, they understand the context.
Okay.
Right? And after that, it's physically demanding. Vocally and bodily. And they find that Shakespeare is so humane and human that they are acting out important conflicts and experiences that they either have had in their lives or will have in their lives.
Okay. And they recognize that in the text.
They do. They really, suddenly they go, they think of these analogies that, this is just like when this happens. Mm-hmm. And that happens over and over again in Shakespeare.
Even though they're speaking in this Elizabethan...
That's right.
Dialect or whatever.
If you have and they have the range, but if you have the experiential background or can imagine, if you can use your imagination to go there, very, very important. They're developing their imagination to do that too. So I like to think, with this production in particular, that it will be something that people can follow fairly easily. And I've made a cutting of it that makes it a shorter play. It really moves along. So that, the original, what some people call the eternal Hamlet, is 4.5 hours long.
Okay.
And ours is probably less than 2.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So,
it's not Hamlet and eggs yet, but it's a little shorter.
No,
than the
it is
original.
shorter, and I think all the major points are made. But I've made some cuts that people often make, and then internally here and there I've made some cuts. So I think, I hope that it still makes sense. I think it really does.
Okay.
But it's not a long evening. It'll move along.
Oh, interesting. So we were talking about the language a little bit, and I assume from our conversation thus far that you find it important to keep the original language and not to do kind of a whatever modern English update or something.
Yeah, I've been involved as an actor in both, and there's quite a difference. First of all, if it's rewritten, it just sounds wrong. It's rather like playing the wrong notes in a Mozart a symphony or whatever. There's a flow to it, and sometimes they will rewrite because we tend to get lazy. We all do as actors, and not quite say the the exact words. And so I've been very particular, almost to the point of driving them crazy, that they have to, they have to do the play as written. They may be good playwrights in their own right, but they may not be on the level of a Shakespeare, for example. So I do try to keep them aware of the structure of the language within the natural emotions and feelings that they have.
I imagine that preserves the, as you said, the flow, the poetry, whatever, of the language itself.
Even the audience notices when the flow is not right. Funnily enough, it just sounds a little jagged.
Yeah, that's interesting. One of my fondest memories of a period in theater in my life was going to the Chicago Shakespeare Theater regularly when I lived there, and it was just amazing to me every time you go in and you start listening, and it's kind of like I'm listening to an Italian opera or something like that, right? I don't understand it, but then after a few minutes, you really do, and I think especially if it's well presented, well acted.
Right. I think that's a rule too that we try to meet, which is that you go a little bit slower at the beginning, so people can catch up.
Okay.
And because it does, as you noted, you have to catch up a little.
Yeah, there's I don't know, and I guess listening to someone speak in a different accent than you're used to, you have to just kind of get used to.
Well, and they're using their own voices, really.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're not doing an accent.
Right. Okay. So we're keeping the language the same, the original. However, all the other stuff is probably open for kind of more ready interpretation.
That's right. I've seen so many Hamlets lately, and I've seen a lot of them that use gunfire. And we're not doing that.
Okay, all right. No.
Because I've seen so much of it now. It's become a cliche, funnily enough.
Okay, no stage.
No, but we're setting it around 1805, 1810. So it's still a very interesting romantic, in a way, period. But there is this sense of as Hamlet says, Denmark being a prison. It's more of a military state.
Okay.
Which makes it harder for him to go through with what the ghost has asked him to do. It kind of makes sense that he delays because he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to. It just suddenly popped out at me when I was reading the script that the king has actually hired mercenaries from Switzerland to follow him around. He calls them his Switzers. And they're always there.
That's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?
No, this is a separate group that's just mentioned in the text.
Oh,
and people either use them or don't. But of course, Elizabeth I didn't, but she had this huge spy network, which he also has. And Polonius is a part of that. So it was amazing to see that he was paranoid enough that he wanted this group that he hired especially for him.
So they're alluded to in the text, but
they
not
absolutely
necessarily
are alluded to. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So they appear much more in our production.
Okay.
Yeah.
The paranoia of the king comes out a little.
More.
Yeah. Okay.
But what's often missed, and I won't go into too much detail about this, but that Hamlet is supposed to be king.
By the time of the play.
Yeah. Well, and his father is the one that was king, and he should be the next in line. But Claudius convinces a council that he's more suited to it. So he's always, in a sense, aware of that usurpation, if you will.
Okay. I will be very happy to get my brain back in the space. I mentioned Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. I think the most recent thing I've seen is that play, the movie version of Tom Stopper's Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which kind of shows you what Hamlet from backstage, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I saw a production years ago at UT Austin where they did both. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and Hamlet with the same cast. So everyone that had a big part in Hamlet had a small part in Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and vice versa.
Huh.
And, they did the joke of, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, says the king. No, Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, the wrong ones. And so all of the actors kind of used that same, attitude within both productions.
Okay.
The best part was at the end of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, it's supposed to be somebody actually doing the end of Hamlet after Guildenstern kind of disappears. And the way they did that was incredible. I still remember it. Where Guildenstern, he's talking, and in his last soliloquy, if you will, spotlight is going closer and closer to his face. And, it's a blank stage or whatever. And then that spotlight winks out. 3 seconds pass, I think. Maybe it was longer, but it seems so fast. Lights came up to the ending of Hamlet.
Oh.
Everybody dead, everybody there.
Wow. Okay.
In the dark. They got into position and boom, they were there.
Huh.
And they could do that because they did both plays.
They knew the stage like the back of their hand.
So they could do what Stoppard really wanted, which often you can't do.
Yeah, interesting. We've drifted a little bit afield from Hamlet, but I'm excited to see it in coming up here very quickly, starting on October 30th, and then the following weekend if you can't make it that weekend. And it's been our pleasure to talk to you here today on the Art Beat. Bill Gelber, thank you for all your years of service at Texas Tech and the School of Theater Dance, and I'm sure we will see you kind of off stage directing other things. Well,
I'll definitely be in town. My wife is still working, and she's at South Plains, so I'll be around.
Good. All right. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University.